So here's the thing about art style and all the ways to apparently find it. It's overrated, and here's why. Since starting this channel, I've been asked hundreds of times questions regarding art style. From how did you find your art style, to how long did it take to develop your art style, to how do I go about developing my own art style? And these are questions that are great, but for the most part, I used to kind of dread answering them, mostly because my feelings and opinions used to be all over the place when it came to questions regarding art style. But over the course of my time being here on YouTube and being an artist within this community, it's time I give my hot take on art style. But first, I'd like to thank the top-level domain name .design for sponsoring this video. To get clients as a designer, you have to have a portfolio website to show off your work. Whether you're just starting out as a designer or you're looking for a way to improve your online presence, you need a domain name that tells the world who you are and what you do right from the jump. For aspiring and established design freelancers, agencies, and design-driven brands, .design is the domain name that matches exactly what you do. .design is the premier domain extension for professional and aspiring designers, from web and UX design to interior design and to other design disciplines. And it's already used by many of the world's leading brands, design departments, and design studios, making it the go-to domain of choice for the global design community. Since there are so many specialized fields and disciplines within the design industry, .design domains link together a diverse creative community, including everyone from web and UX designers to interior and lighting designers. So just click on my custom link in my description to learn more about the .design domain name and get your perfect .design domain. So here's the thing, way too many beginner artists are way more concerned with art style and being recognizable rather than having a solid foundation. I know I can already hear the groans from you all, you don't want to hear this, but truth is it's gotta be said again, because you've probably heard it 1,000 times. You gotta learn the basics of art. You gotta have a foundation. And before I get further into this idea, I gotta be honest with you all too. I used to value art style a lot. Like, way more than I ever should have throughout my entire art journey so far, until I realized better and understood that art style isn't all that serious. Why? Because I was trying to bend myself and my art into styles that I liked without learning proper anatomy, without learning proper color theory, without putting the work needed for building a foundation in art basics. And I got to the point where when other artists asked me about advice on art style, I'd always give the lamest answers. Things like, well, look at other artists that inspire you. Pick the things you like from their style. Mash it all together. And first off, I don't feel like I was completely incorrect, because it's clear that in the end, our own art style does get heavily influenced by artists who inspire us. But I also feel that I was oversimplifying this concept when it's also not as simple as just Frankensteining yourself into an art style. It's so incredibly important to stop putting so much effort into a specialized identity and start putting that effort into just building a foundation for your art, which means putting your time into learning anatomy, learning color theory, learning how to do backgrounds. And of course, this goes hand in hand with the ever famous question that all artists get: how did you get so good? And honestly, I can answer that pretty simply. I got good because I wanted to. And that sounds so cocky, but I'm nowhere near being a god tier level artist. But I do realize I have learned some solid skills in art in the past 10 years. And I know that most beginner artists who ask that question obviously are really asking, but how did you get good? What tutorials did you watch? What specifically helped you the most in getting better? And I guess a better answer to that would be determination, time, and research. Since I wanted to get better, I searched for tutorials that would help me, but that doesn't always mean that those specific tutorials and specific techniques that worked for me are bound to work for you. So while answering specifically is difficult, I can answer generally. Drawing almost daily, or if not every day, at least every other day, helped so much. A lot of getting better is just pushing yourself and setting aside time to grow as an artist, setting aside time to look for tutorials, and setting aside time to research classes you can take on art. There are so many different places where you can learn. I feel like if you've been watching tons of different artists here on YouTube, you've heard of Skillshare, and they have great tutorials. There's also Udemy, Domestika, heck, even here on YouTube. For free. There are so many artists willing to share their knowledge with you on a huge variety of art topics like anatomy and color theory and world building. It's endless. It just depends on what effort you can or want to give. But I wanted to say all that because as you learn and get better with the basics, something amazing happens. You start to realize your own style coming through, and even if you don't see it, it's there, I promise you. There are days when I still feel like I have no true art style, but that's really just my own insecurities at play. We all have them. There are also days where I feel like my art style varies a lot, and maybe it does, but I do feel like I'm at the point where I'm experimenting more, and that's okay. Side note, don't get stuck in drawing a certain way because you believe that your art style is what defines you. It doesn't. Keep experimenting and keep growing. So what makes a good, solid, and recognizable style? Personally, I think it's just time, effort, and experimenting with what looks good and what doesn't. An artist's personal tastes obviously influence it too. And eventually, after so much time experimenting and thinking of what you want your art to say, you'll find that more and more people will begin to recognize your style. Right now for me, I'm not worried about my art style. Right now, I'm most concerned about backgrounds. I'm still developing my knowledge on backgrounds because they are the bane of my existence. Hence why I'm creating this piece actually. It's way more involved than what I'm used to, and I have several things going on in this piece, some of which I might regret. But I'm by no means professionally skilled in perspective and background sceneries yet, but I wanted to push myself and see what I could do, and I plan to keep learning. And of course, my style naturally comes through, and I haven't really had to put a whole ton of effort into curating and crafting this style. I've simply focused on becoming a better artist, and my style has sort of just been there. It's just come to me, in a sense. So I really hope this helped you all out. I really hope that I've answered questions, and also maybe eased some anxiety for some of you over the constant quest of finding your art style. Also, feel free to leave your thoughts on this yourself. I'm always interested in what others think. Maybe you agree, or maybe you don't agree, and that's okay too. And at the end of all this, these are just my thoughts, and I'm always welcome to different ideas and interpretations of art style. And is it something we actively search for, or does it come naturally to us? Let me know what you think. So comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks everyone. Bye!